Well, welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's jump back into that because let's talk about YouTube and videos and
Yeah,
stuff. So we were
yeah.
just talking about it, and like if you go to my TikTok, like
Hmm.
one of mine's like my son jumping on the trampoline,
Right, right.
and then I literally walked into a realtor team meeting, and they're all on their phones, and I'm like, "What's going on, guys?" And they're like, "We're having a TikTok challenge." I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "What's
What's
TikTok or what's the
exactly?
challenge?" And I'm like, "Well, kind of both," because I
Yeah,
thought TikTok was
same.
just dancing. It was just came out, right?
Right, right.
And so they're like, "Yeah, we're the first one to get 1,000 followers." And I was like, "Oh, how do I? Let's do it."
How do I
And
do
so he's
that?
like, "Well, I'll do it. Here, say something about loans." And so he held my phone and just recorded a video and posted it. And then he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna text you every day, 3 or 4 videos, and I want you to like themes, and then I want you to record it and then text it back to me." I'm like, "Okay."
Sure.
So within about 3 months, we went from 0 to 80,000 followers,
Wow,
right? And
that's
that
crazy.
all just from, and he had two things. He would post every day,
Right.
and he would wait a day to reply to any of the comments, so it brought them back to the page. That was his only two things that he did. Now I don't know if that's
Genius.
still a thing because
Yeah,
this was years ago when it
right.
first launched, but it's like things like that. You look back at the videos that we were shooting. Like one of my best one was like in a hoodie with a hat in a
Right.
after a red eye flight in
Right.
Michigan, and I'm sitting there and I get off the plane. I was like to my daughter, I'm like, "Hey Tatum, come over here and shoot this video for me because I got to send this to Jax, the guy, right?" Because he's like, "Hey
Gotta
dude, I
do it
need
every
another
day.
video. You can't run out. It's got to be consistent."
Right,
And
right.
so I'm like freaking out. I'm like, "All right, it's like 4:30 in the morning there, so it's like 2:30 or 1:30 here." And I'm like on the phone. I'm like Tatum, hold the phone. And I was like, "Here's how much it costs to buy a $650,000 house." And then I sent it to him, and that one's gotten like last time I looked, it was like a few million
Yep.
million
Isn't that
views.
crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
Right. Yeah. The simplest little, like, not well thought out. You didn't spend hours planning it, and it just.
Yeah. And it's
It's
that
crazy.
power, right, of the social media. So
Yeah.
have you? So we were just talking. This was huge. So, like, how did you get into the business? I know your background's education, and
Right.
you're recently in because I thought you'd been in even before COVID, but no,
Yeah.
it was
No.
after.
Thank you.
So
I was in education for 17 years, special education, high school most of the time. I taught at university here online for 6 years, teaching people how to be teachers while I was in education. I have all kinds of certificates. I had my principal certificate. I figured I didn't want to be a principal after I got it and started being in leadership roles because all you deal with is problems all day long and people who are unhappy about everything. And that's not why I got into education. And so I did have, I ran three different special education programs at different schools, two at the high school level where I was in charge of the whole program, coordinator in charge of 20 teachers, however many assistants, 350 kids, all in my program.
wow.
Yeah, and after a while, I stepped back from that and went back into the classroom. And just, education was changing. Things were starting to change. And then 2020 happened, and we were all at home, and I had to start teaching the 2020 2021 school year online. And I was teaching life skills level students, like the most needy students. I had students whose goals would be tracking a yes or no response by the way they move their eyes, nonverbal, wheelchair bound, and so starting that online, I had more than one breakdown. I told my husband, this is not helping them. This is not helping me. This is not why I became a teacher. This isn't why I spent all these years, I have a master's degree plus in education to have them sit in front of a computer at home while I'm sitting in front of a computer at my house. So my teammates and I fought to go back early, and we brought our kids back, and some of them still stayed home. And so we were going through the challenges of teaching the kids in front of us and being on a screen for the kids at home. And we did the best we could with that till they all came back. But at the end of that year, I really just was trying to figure out, like, this is something, like, I am just not fulfilled anymore. And special education is a ton of paperwork. And I loved the kids, but the administration and all the changes were just getting to be too much. And so I thought maybe I just need to move from high school to elementary school. And I took a leadership position in a behavior program at an elementary school where all of the kids in the district that were deemed behavior issues that couldn't be dealt with on the regular campus came to our campus.
Oh my.
And that was a nightmare. It was awful. And I ended up getting injured by a student, and I almost didn't go back. I told my husband, I took the next day off, and I was like, I got to figure something out. He said, well, I don't care what you do, but you're not happy. You're not happy. And, like, we don't need you to make, even as much as you're making, we'll be fine, do whatever. And a friend of mine had been talking to me about real estate and in my ear for about a year. And my son said, Mom, like, you would be great at that. You're great with people. You and Dad have bought and sold a lot of houses. You know a little bit about it already. And, why don't you do that? So I did. I went to school. At night, they were still doing Zoom classes at that time. And I was working full time during the day. And I went 3 nights a week for 6 weeks and got my license. And while I was doing that, I had surgery on my knee for my injury from the student. And oh yeah, so it was a student with autism whose schedule was off, the bus was late, and he was just having a meltdown. It wasn't like a vicious attack or anything like that. He was just being a child with autism. And he slammed me up against the wall and kicked my knee and stepped on my foot. And I had a bone chip and some other, stuff in my knee. So anyways, I finished school, had my surgery, and that was over like December, January. My doctor kept me off for 12 weeks. He's like, I don't want you to re-injure your knee. I'm not going to put you back in a situation where you have to do physical restraints and everything again, and you're going to end up worse, which I appreciated. So when all that happened, I started training, took my test, got my license, started training. And then in April, they released me back to work and I quit. And here I am.
So is this April 21?
22.
22.
April 20. So I licensed in January 22.
Mm-hmm.
Started doing training and everything with the previous brokerage that I was with, and started taking Zillow calls and doing all the things and going on appointments and everything.
Getting all the practice.
So by the time I went back to work, I actually had closed one deal.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not usually typical.
Right. So that was March of 2022. I closed my first deal. And I think between then and now, I think I'm at 40 closed.
Amazing. Wow. Cool. I just had breakfast this morning with my nephew. He's late 20s, he's back in Boston, and he's taking classes right now. And then my uncle's there, and he's like, yeah, then he's got to hang his license somewhere. And I said, yeah, and we just talked about making that choice, right? So how did you choose the first place that you decided to hang your license? Like, how'd you get introduced to them? Did you interview a bunch?
I did not interview a bunch, and maybe I should have. I don't know. My friend worked there.
Oh, okay. So, the same friend that got you in?
The same friend that got me in. It's funny. So her husband works for my husband.
Okay.
And so that's how I know her. And I interviewed with them and I talked to them and I just really felt like it was a good fit. I had other people, when you get your license, everybody and their mother gets your information. And so you get all these calls and emails and text messages. Hey, come meet with us, because everybody's looking for agents. And I had set a couple of appointments with other groups and I canceled them. I felt really like, okay, I like this team. I like the vibe. I, liked everything about it. And it was really good. It was a good place for me to start. It was a lot of experience. It was a lot of training. I went on a lot of appointments.
Got a lot of practice.
Yeah. And my first deal was actually a for sale by owner. I had the buyer, and it was, 2022. We were still in that period of nothing's available. The interest rates were stupid low, and we were writing 8, 9 offers trying to get something accepted over list price, all those things. And we couldn't get anything accepted. And a girl in my office said, hey, I saw this FSBO that might fit what your client's looking for. So I called the owner and I said, hey, can we come look? Blah, blah, blah. He said, sure. I said, will you pay a buyer's commission? And he said, yeah. I said,
great.
That's perfect.
Okay.
I said, let's go look at it. And it just worked out to be exactly what they were looking for. So I got a lot of experience with technically it was a dual agency representation and, with the unrepresented seller and all of that. So I got to do all of those things on my first transaction.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, even being so young in the business,
right,
doing 40 deals, that's still getting a lot of looks at different scenarios, neighborhoods, sellers, buyers, negotiations.
Yeah.
No seller credits, getting seller credits, right? Bid over ask. So that you've been through a lot over this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, a lot of it came from that team and them feeding me leads, which was great. And my first year I did 21 deals and 17 of them came from Zillow. So 10% conversion on Zillow. I closed 17. I went on a lot of appointments.
Yes.
And it was actually, I think that year I was at 12 or 13% conversion with
That's
them.
astronomical for anything internet.
I
That's
just
great.
decided that I couldn't fail. So I wasn't allowing myself to fail. Not that I couldn't. And it's funny because I would see people in the office who were also new to the business who were really struggling. And they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just talking to a lot of people and going on a lot of appointments and following up.
Hmm.
Like,
Following a simple plan.
right? I
That would
answer
work in
the
any
phone when,
business.
yeah, right. I answer the phone when it rings, and I talk to people, and I follow up, and make sure of what I'm doing, and and I ask a lot of questions, and I started listening to podcasts, and if there was a training at the office, I went. Even if I thought it didn't pertain to me. So
You showed up.
yeah. Or if I didn't have to go, we had new agent training that you had to go to until you had 5 deals under your belt. Once you had 5 deals, you didn't have to go. I kept going for a little while because I thought, I have so much to learn. I'm sure there's going to be at least one nugget from this meeting. So
That's a good perspective. I think whether it's lucky, blessed, fate, but getting onto a team when you first start, and obviously the right team with the right training,
right.
but having that attitude, like, hey, I'm going to show up and I'm actually going to do the work that they're telling me to do. Like, they're literally opening up their playbook,
Exactly.
saying, hey, if you do this, you can have a career in real estate.
Yep. Yep.
And
Exactly.
there's different models and evolutions of you, right? Like in the beginning, it's, man, I got to learn a lot. I'm going to call these internet people.
Right.
And then later on, if you did a great job and you stayed in touch with those people, they're all coming back again.
Mhm.
They're all going to refer friends and family. I saw your testimonials online. They're like, they're not like just like, oh, she was great. They're like emotional. They're lengthy.
Yeah.
And you can tell just from how you talk now that there's a connection there that you've made with them. And obviously, I think that's come from either upbringing, also through the education, having those listening skills. That's how you really create that depth of relationship with them.
Mm.
Is that what spurred your move? Because I know you moved then onto your current version of you,
Yeah.
and now more relationship based, I'm assuming, business.
Yeah, exactly. So I started tracking. The first year, I didn't really track spreadsheet wise. I just knew how many deals I had, and I kind of had an idea how many were team leads, and I had 0 from my sphere the first year. So I knew first year, like, this is where I need to be. I was trying to get the word out there to people that, hey, I'm in real estate and this is for real. I'm not just dabbling in this. This is my full-time career move. And I think once people saw that, and I started getting some referrals from friends and family and people that my daughter played volleyball with, in high school. She's 28 now. So her friend's mom referred me somebody. And so I started getting those, and I started tracking where my deals were coming from. So last year, by June, I only had 4 Zillow deals. And I don't know if that was because they were changing, I was changing, but I had a bunch of stuff in the pipeline. And like, my son bought a house and my daughter bought and sold a house, and my brother-in-law referred me some people, but all those referrals started coming in. And so I started thinking, if I can do this on my own and keep more money in my pocket, and I built out my spreadsheets from year 1 and year 2, and I looked at my GCI and how much I kept. And then how much I gave away for referral fees and broker splits and everything else. And I talked to people who had made the move and were doing very well. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
And they've done it first. So I have somebody to ask questions and follow that path. And it was scary leaving because it was almost like starting all over again. And the safety of the team, I didn't have to buy signs. I didn't have to buy lock boxes. They provided the website. Like, I had almost 0 cost.
That's kind of what you were paying
Going
for.
in. Right.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
My split is the
Yes.
value that they're giving me and all those
Exactly.
things you mentioned and more.
Exactly. And that's why I started with the team, because I didn't want to invest a lot of money into it if it wasn't going to work.
So true.
I was like, okay, I already paid for school. I paid for all these licenses. I did all these things. I don't want to have to buy all this other stuff, and then a year later I'm not doing it. And so when I figured out, I can do this, and I watch these other people be successful and talk to them. And it's funny because the group I'm with now, it's not really a team. We kind of call it a crew, it's our group because everybody's on their own. But the ringleader, we'll call him a ringleader, he lives right behind me.
No way.
Had been in my DMs for months. months about, and I just wasn't ready yet. I said, things are going really well. I'm really comfortable. And I really like the people that I worked with. My broker was great. I mean, it was a great team. It was a great atmosphere. And he's like, that's cool, but look at how much money you're losing. He goes, have you
Made a
looked at
spreadsheet.
it? Yeah. And so I said, well, no. And so I did. I made a spreadsheet and I was like, oof, that's a lot of money to be leaving on the table. I think my first year out of 230,000 GCI, I kept 83. And the rest went to the referral company and the broker.
Right.
And I'm not begrudging the broker. I know what it takes to run a team. And I know they used to tell us all the time, if you're not doing 12 deals a year, we're not going to give you leads because it costs them money.
Right.
And I get that. And I'm not begrudging their splits. But if you get to the point where you can do it on your own, my thought process was, why continue to stay there and pay the higher fees?
And that's really the key, right? Like,
yeah.
if you had said, if you rewind the clock and said, hey, I'm starting on my own and I'm going to buy the lock boxes, the signs, the advertising, you couldn't even get a Zillow relationship on your own, but let's say you could, or some other source, you're putting out so much capital, yet you don't even have the systems, the structure, the mentorship, the leadership, the community to do it.
Right.
Yet at some point in time, there's that flip of, okay, now I need to do this relationship based.
Exactly.
Now I've gotten the practice, the school of hard knocks, the online, the calls, the appointments.
Right.
I've had enough at bats at my listing appointment, my buyer consultation.
Yep.
I have support on the marketing side. Okay, now it's time to go on my own. Now I understand the math.
Yep, exactly. And my second year, I kept a much higher percentage, even though half of it, the first 6 months, was still with that team, and the second 6 months, I did fewer deals, but there was kind of a lull in between while I was getting things set up. And long story short, my plan to leave was about 2 or 3 weeks later than when I actually left.
Okay.
They knew I was leaving, and they're like, look, several people have already left.
We know.
If you're going to go, let's just make it now. I was like, okay, that's fine. It is. And I had, I think, 3 deals in escrow. And my big thing was I didn't want to split that commission with anybody else on the team, because that was their usual was, hey, you have to hand it off and somebody else gets 50%. And one of those was an SOI on a $700,000 house. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I'm not splitting that. And he said, no, it's fine. You can just.
Cool.
Yeah. And so it was really a good exit, but it was a little slow while I was getting things set up. I had barely got my website going, and I was getting all the things, business cards and doing all the things. So there was a little bit of a lull, but one of the biggest things for me was the time I got back. I have 7 grandkids. There's a whole lot of time involved with
7.
We just had number 7 last week.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
So what's the range? Newborn to
5.
Wow. Oh
yeah,
my
the oldest
gosh.
is 5. He turned 5 in October. So they're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7 months and 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is
best,
awesome.
They're the best. Yeah.
See, and you look so rested because they're the grandchildren.
yes. And it's funny because, my daughter will call me. She's like, hey, she has 4. Are you available for a date night? And she's like, well, we'll put this one to bed and we'll this and that, because they're 4, ages 5 to 7 months, And so, we'll go over there and give them some relief so she can go do the things. But then I get to come home to a quiet house and a little, dog who's somewhat of a terror. He's so cute.
He's cute online.
He's so cute, but he's a puppy.
Yeah.
He's 3 months old.
Yeah,
I have to remind myself he's 3 months old.
Yeah,
but
you know what you got.
Yeah. So I got time back, and my husband's like, well, you don't seem as busy. I said, I'm not, but I'm not busy busy. Like, I'm busy doing the things that matter and that are important, And
so what's some of those things that you do on a daily basis now that keep your business going to the level that you want it to be?
So I'm really trying to implement at least 3 days a week where I just sit and make phone calls from like 9 to noon. Or if I have other things from 9 to noon, I'll kind of move that time frame over.
So there's 3 days of 3 hours of block time, focused
block
on
time.
calling.
Yeah, just calling.
Who?
So I have a database of about 300 people right now, and some of those are Sphere people, some of those are referral people. I also pay for Google pay-per-click ads. So those people that have come in, and some of those people I've gotten in contact with, some I haven't gotten in contact with, some are old leads that I was in contact with before I made the move, from the other brokerage, and we've kept in contact. So anytime I meet somebody who even remotely talks about buying or selling, they go on my database.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Like, oh, you might buy in 5 years? Great. Go on. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So just calling that, following up with those people. And I'm really trying to be consistent with my social media posting and presence. I was doing really well. Had emergency surgery in November and had my gallbladder out, and that kind of derailed me for a little bit. And then, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the things. And so really trying to just build back up to providing value, not just, oh, hey, here's some homes for sale, or hey, look what I did. But, just providing information and value to people so they don't just click and scroll through. I don't have a huge social media following. I just moved over 1,000 followers on Instagram. So I was like, ooh.
Yay. All right. Celebrate.
Right. Finally hit that. I was like 995, and then they go down to 990. And then finally, I don't know what moved the needle, but, just trying to be consistent there and, getting followers that way. And I have a girl in Chicago. I don't even remember how we connected. We connected a couple years ago. She wants to move to Arizona. So we've been talking. I have her set up on a search. She's in the database.
Like, power social media.
Right. Everybody goes in the CRM. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always say, like, your database is typically the number one or two, right? For agents, It's really number two, because number one should be like business professionals. Because although my clients can come back to me and maybe 7 to 10 years, depending on what they're doing, or refer me along the way, a business professional can refer me a lot of business, like a CPA, a financial planner, a probate attorney.
Right.
And so or even another agent in another state could
Yes.
be a channel account for you to get you a lot of business. So that's like the main bulk. Then number two, that database. But somewhere in there, social media is important for real estate agents, because that's just where people look. They go on Google, they go on YouTube, the top two search engines, and then the people are now searching in, because you can't organically search Facebook and Instagram from Google. Right. You can only do Google, YouTube, and TikTok from the internet. You actually have to be in Facebook's platform or in Instagram's platform to search. Mm-hmm. But people scroll through there and they see your stuff. Yeah. And as we look, and we can check your stuff, but you can go into your Instagram and look at a post that did fairly well and hit the insights. Yeah. And it will show you how many of your followers saw it. Right. But typically it's more that there's a greater than 60, 70, 80% of non-followers saw your video. And that's how you get new followers. Right. That's how people saw your thing and said, oh my God, I saw the cute dog. And then they saw the next post of you walking through a luxury property, or talking about the local restaurant, or the new Taiwan, chip plant coming in, or like whatever. Right. I think a lot of we were talking about this before with the YouTube, is putting out informational stuff. Like, did you see the new Shake Shack that's going in on the corner here? I actually just saw that yesterday. I was like, wait, what is that? Like, hey. My daughter's like, hey, is that new? I'm like, yeah, it just went in. Okay, and there's a whole thing that's going in that section, and there's so much new stuff coming to Arizona. Right. And if you can be, Gary Vee says, the mayor of your town. Right. Where not people like tuning in saying, well, let's just go to Heather's thing and see what's going on, but they're seeing a lot of things going on that are from you. Right. And they're like, oh, and then they're thinking, okay, now I'm trying to sell my house. I like her. Heather, yeah, she came up. Yeah. Well, we all know people buy things from people they know, like, and trust. And that's been, I did a multi-level marketing company, which I still use all of their products. I just don't really promote them anymore. And that's where I learned some of the things, like the fortune is in the follow-up. And, if people don't know you and don't like you, it doesn't matter what you're putting up there if they don't trust you. Mm-hmm. If they're not going to buy from you, because even though we have great products, they don't know you. They don't care. Right. And so, a lot of that has really come in handy for me, the training that I got through that company as far as this goes. But just trying to provide information to people. And I did a couple of posts. One that got a lot of view was like 3 great date night restaurants in Peoria. I live in North Peoria. It was like, here's where you go. Here's 3 really great coffee shops. Here's, and I highlight different ones. And those ones,
and it's really simple. It's B-roll video with the restaurant information. And I've invited them every time I do one, I invite them to be a collaborator. Nobody's done it yet, but I'm going to keep doing it.
For sure. Yeah.
It's like, make it work and just providing information. And it's funny because even some friends of mine were like, oh my gosh, I never knew about that restaurant. I was like, I go there all the time, Twisted Italian. It's really good. And it's small, and it's really small. So if you don't get there right when they open, you're going to be waiting. And during the pandemic, we would get takeout from them, so we could have it at home. But I'm like, if you don't have a reservation, they don't take reservations. And then the Bourbon and Bones just opened by me.
Oh, I didn't know they put one out there.
83rd Avenue,
Ooh,
Happy Valley.
That's good.
Yeah, we're coming uptown on the west side over there. And they're opening a Postino's over by the baseball stadium at Peoria Sports Complex. A Postino's and some other things. So, there's a lot of stuff that's coming in. They're getting a Chick-fil-A right by my house. And an In-N-Out burger, which we don't have. I mean, I live...
There's no In-N-Out out there?
No. So I live north of 75th Avenue in Happy Valley. Mm-hmm. The closest In-N-Out is 83rd and Bell. It's not close.
No.
It's not close. And the closest Chick-fil-A is 83rd and Bell. Or there's one on I-17 in Jomax.
Yeah.
It's not close either. It's behind Norterra. It's on the other side of Norterra. And, I mean, given my choice, I'm going to go to Norterra before I'm going to go to anything at 83rd and Bell because it's just a mess over there, especially right now with spring baseball. It's a mess. But there's none of that.
Another great video, by the way.
Yeah, right, spring baseball.
Right?
Yeah,
hey,
right.
Hey, it's spring baseball. Here's some things to keep an eye out on. It's heavy traffic over here.
Funny story. I've been in Arizona my entire life. I have never been to a spring training game.
No way.
Isn't that terrible?
They're so much fun.
I know. And there's a big group from two of the guys that I work with put together like giveaways, and they're taking like friends and family. They each bought like 100, 150 tickets to the spring training games next week. I'm like, maybe I'll just go.
I have someone that did that. Yeah.
I'm like, I've never been. My husband's never been. He's been here longer than me.
Wow. Oh, you got to do it this year.
I know. Well, and we live so close. We've lived in Peoria most of our married life, but we lived in Litchfield Park for a while, and when we lived there, they opened the Dodgers one in, I think it's Glendale, Phoenix, what city it's technically in over there. And it's just always so crowded. Yeah. I don't love crowds.
Yeah, I hear you. But maybe a nice day game you can get. Don't go on a Saturday. I know, right? But I have had, so speaking of this, I wanted to ask you, how do you stay in front of your database, right? We know the know, like, and trust, so obviously they have that level, but how do you stay top of mind with the past client database? Is there any sort of formula that you have that you're like, oh, I'm calling them, I'm mailing them, I'm client event?
Funny you ask, because I learned it all from Chris Bowers. He calls it the Bowers Blitz. I have taken his class twice, and it's about 42 touches a year with your sphere people. And so, like first of the year, I mailed out calendar magnets.
This to the 300.
No. This is a separate list. There's about 210 people on this list.
How'd you come up with that list?
So when I was going to make the change from the team to a solo agent, and I had taken the class on it, I was like, okay, I need to reach people, because there's people that I know who we follow each other on social media, but only 10% or so of those people see your stuff at any given time. So the first thing I did is I went through my phone and I started making a list, and I went through my Facebook and Instagram and started making a list and just making a list of people. And then I didn't have their addresses, so I went stealth mode and I looked them up on county records and got addresses.
Nice.
I mean, I spent hours doing this. So looked up all their addresses, and I came up with a list of about 210 people that I thought would care that I was in real estate and that might give me referrals. Mm-hmm. And then I sent out a letter with a refrigerator magnet. And the letter is basically like, hey, I get X% of my business from referrals. If you know anybody who is upsizing, downsizing, getting divorced, getting married, had kids, whatever, might want to buy a house, I would appreciate your referral. Here's my information. And then after that, they get a postcard with my proof of production, some homes sold in the area. And I bought the same postcard, and I mailed out the same postcard at the first of every month for like 3 months.
Nice.
And then I started changing it up. Last year, I mailed out baseball schedule magnets. I didn't do those this year because I just did the refrigerator magnet ones. I did football schedule magnets. I just ordered a postcard that has like home tips, which I post on my socials at the start of every month anyways, but it's like it's March, time to change your air filters, clean your refrigerator coils, deep clean the carpet, all those kind of things.
Cool. Reminders.
Right. So those are going out next week. And then
Also a great video.
yes. And so I try to just mail them something, and then I'll once a quarter I try to go through and either text them or call them if we have that kind of relationship.
Okay.
Just to kind of touch base. And it's funny, my past clients are on that list as well, so they get all those mailers.
Love it.
And it's funny, one of my past clients, I was driving by they're in my neighborhood, and there's a new street light going in. So very organic way, like, hey, I saw you guys are getting a new street light. And, we had a great little conversation. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy because my kids are driving now, and it's going to make it so much safer. And we need to have you over. And, so it's nice just kind of keeping organic ways to stay top of mind with them. I mean, they get the mailers, and, they see my face. And I had people reach out to me that I used to work with. One of them, I sold her house in December, and I'm selling her mom's house. We're going to mark at the end of this month from those mailers.
Awesome. Well, it pays for your postage for a few years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, paid for my postage, my time, from those.
On those postcards, do you do any sort of call to action, QR code, anything like that?
Yeah, there's a QR code that'll lead them to my website. Like if they want to see their home value, I think it says on there, if your current home value or start your home search here or something. It's got the QR code that takes them right to my website.
Do you do anything with like HomeBot or any of that kind of stuff?
I do HomeBot. Yes, I love HomeBot. And matter of fact, I have a list of about 6 people I need to add to it today that I was just thinking yesterday, like, oh, why didn't I add this person? So people come in my database and I have their address and I know they have a house.
They go in there.
They're going in HomeBot. Yeah.
Whenever we do stuff with schools and we do like basket giveaways, part of my thing is, I'm like, make the basket really good so you get a lot of entries.
Right.
Like tickets to the Suns and wine and whatever.
All the things.
Yeah.
Because the teachers need wine.
Don't go cheap out, right? But then when you do it, you then put in, hey, must put all these info, name, address, email, phone. And if you don't enter at all, you don't get entered in for the nice Suns tickets, wine, whatever. And then immediately those go into the Excel spreadsheet, into the CRM, tagged as whatever the event was, and then into HomeBot.
Yeah.
Just because that's what you want them to do. Even if they said they're renting there, doesn't matter if I know they own it. Doesn't matter. They're going to see, wow, this place is worth that much, and I'm paying rent. You never know.
I could be building my own wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you shoot video and then put that into the HomeBot digest that goes out every month, or do you just let it go?
No, I just let it go, and I should.
You should shoot the videos.
I know I should do the videos.
It's once a month.
I know.
Right?
I know.
You don't have to do it every month too. You could just say, hey, once a quarter I'm going to pop on. But especially in this market where most people's conversation are what's going on in real estate, what's up with the mortgage rates, where do you see the economy? Like that's just a hot topic.
Yeah.
I might as well shoot the video about it.
I know.
Maybe you listen to like Tina Tambor one day or some podcast that you're listening to, and then you go, now it's fresh in my brain what Tina just said. I wrote 3 or 4 bullet points. I turn on the webcam or my phone, and then I upload it to YouTube, and then I upload that link to HomeBot. Right. So you can just repurpose the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They were
you could also send it out as a straight email to everybody.
Yeah. Yesterday at the training I went to, they were talking about putting it in the HomeBot to go out with your emails and then using that same video. I was like,
we talked about before what I wrote down here, YouTube.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? So I'm taking every video you ever shoot, you could just put onto YouTube.
Although for YouTube, they told me it has to be horizontal and not like YouTube likes it better if it's horizontal versus
it does, but
vertical.
I can still do the shorts are this way.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you looked at mine, you'd see it automatically blacks out the side and makes it this way.
So
it's
when I
fine.
go home, I'm gonna scroll.
People will still see it.
Your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So they might see it. It might not get optimized. It might not go viral. But yes, if I was purposely posting something on YouTube or the HomeBot Digest, yes, you hold it horizontal.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I think I get that analysis paralysis where I'm like, this is a really good idea. I should do that. And I start and then I stop. And this is going to sound so dumb on why I don't do more videos like at home in my office. My house is all painted light gray. I mean, it's like the background is so bad for videos. It's terrible. It's light gray. And
you could always paint one wall like
I am. I'm going to paint one wall in my office. And it's funny because I've had, just had the baby and I was in Disneyland the week before that. And I was like, okay, I all these time suckers that I couldn't get the wall painted. And I was thinking as I was driving here today, I was like, let's get a gallon of paint on the way home because I want to do like a feature wall in there.
There you go.
But my husband's a football coach. It's spring football. He doesn't have time to do the feature wall right now. So I'm like, I'll just paint it and then we can add the stuff later and then paint. Because we did one in my master bedroom. It looks really good. I'm not going to film anything in there. So it's so dumb. Like all I think about when I'm on a Zoom conference and I see that light gray wall behind me, I'm like, I look terrible.
You could also put some pictures and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
we just recycle pictures behind us and do different things.
Yeah, or a little bookshelf with some things. I know.
Talia found one yesterday on
simple.
OfferUp. It was $25. It's like 5 shelves,
Nice.
all open, super clean,
Right.
and then you can just put different stuff on the shelf, and it just
Right.
has
Books
something
and-
for
yeah.
people to look at in the background. Right. So just like you said,
Yeah.
But I like that. I think like anything, if you remove the friction of it, like you have your design of your postcard already done.
Yeah.
You have the Excel spreadsheet. You have the mail house that takes care of it all. And all you have to do is at the end of the month go, okay, am I ready to do a different testimonial? And do I need to add anyone else to the spreadsheet? And then you send the email to the guy. It's like 30 minutes. It's in your calendar.
Yeah. I actually still do all my own labels right now because I feel like I don't have enough to have somebody else do it. Literally,
Have enough.
People on my list, I don't know, 200. I know people who do like
How long does it take you to do the labels?
not that long because I have the spreadsheet. I just upload it to Avery and just
Yeah, but how long?
half hour.
Half hour?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind
How
of
many people
therapeutic,
could you
actually.
call in a half hour?
I know.
And look, if you
sometimes it's therapeutic. I
There you
don't have
go.
to think about it. It's mindless activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know people who do like the pre-sort, mail by zip code that saves them a little bit of money. And
Right.
I'm like, I don't feel like I have enough mailers to do that yet. And maybe I do. I don't know. But
I mean, it's always tough, right? If I have the 30 and it's somewhat therapeutic because I'm just thinking, and it's like, it's a reminder of that person, right? Like you're doing that person, like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, it made me think of her.
Right.
And then maybe I send them a text,
Right.
So
Right.
there is that part to it too. The other part is I'm just exchanging time for money.
exactly.
So if it costs me a little bit extra to have them do that thing, and I can be holding an open house, making
Right.
4 or 5 more phone calls, planning
That's
my spring training game for my event, right?
Right.
Now, so you've never done
been to
any
it.
sort of client event or
Not yet. No. And I keep hearing about these other events that people are doing, and I think about it, and I would like to do one, and I think my fear is that nobody will come.
yes,
I mean, that's
100%. That is a valid.
100%.
That is a valid
like,
fear.
What if I do all this and I plan all these things, and I'm sitting in the movie theater by myself?
Yes.
Then I have a peaceful movie, I
Yeah, a
guess.
peaceful movie. It's
Yeah.
I tell you, that is a thing. I'll tell you 2 things. One, the power's in the invite.
Right.
That you invited the 200, the 300 to come to your movie theater, to come to your spring training game. They all felt cared for because you thought
That's
of
true.
them, that you were buying them $10, $20 popcorns, right? Like
Right.
setting this all up.
The whole
Like,
thing.
wow, that's awesome. I have soccer that day. We're out of town that day. I missed the email. Like, okay.
Right.
But they were invited and they felt cared for.
Yeah.
The second story is my first movie. Do you remember Cars? Like
Yeah,
Cars came
of
out like so long ago. I don't even know what year that was. I have to look it up. But
Yeah, it'll make me feel
first
old.
movie, and I had the theater. It's probably like 200 people in the theater. That can not 200. It was 200 people that could fit in the
Okay,
theater.
200 seats available. Yes.
There was 13 people that showed up,
Perfect.
and half were my family. And my wife's like, "How much did you pay for this?"
You're like,
And at the time, it was like $1,000. I was like, it's like $1,000. She's like, for our family. And I'm like,
Let's go to the movies.
I go, don't worry, the power's in the invite. And she goes, don't coach me. I go, no, my coach said that. She's
You're like, no, I'm
she's
coaching
I don't
myself
care,
right
but
now.
this better be good. And so
for
we watched the movie.
$1,000.
So 2 months later, I come home and I'm like, hey, and this is back when we had paper commission sheets. I'm like, hey, look, we just closed those 6 loans from people that didn't come to the theater that were invited, and that's
Okay.
how much we made, and
Right,
it was
sure.
significantly more than the $1,000.
Yeah.
So the point being is, yeah, that might happen. It's never happened again because that was my fault for not marketing it properly. Send
Right,
one email and, oh, they're all going to show up. No, you call, you
100%.
text, you email, you call them again,
Send
you
a carrier
confirm they're
pigeon
coming.
note.
It's evolved. I mean, we have a whole plan for it. We do giveaways,
Mm-hmm.
and then we ask for reviews and referrals
Right.
prior to the event to
Right.
come for the
Yeah.
flat screen, the Ring camera, the
I'm going to go to
AirPods. You should come, but you should throw one because it's more profitable when you throw one. It's scary.
No, it is. It is.
But we will
big
help you.
Scary.
We help you do it
Okay.
because
That's-
it's just again, it's that. How do I just stay in front of them?
exactly
And a leveraged event is one of the better ways.
right.
Right. You've
Right.
probably seen it. Like we do the pumpkin and apple pie giveaway in
Mhm,
November.
mhm.
And again, I give away 80. We offer 400.
Right.
right? Like 400 people get asked, hey, you want apple or pumpkin?
Hey, which one you want?
Right? And there was a glitch in our system last time, so it didn't pick one. You could pick both
Both.
of
Oh,
them. Like it was pick one, apple or pumpkin. And it was like apple, pumpkin. And I'm like, well, the people that picked two, just give them two.
right.
So that could have been 800,
Right.
but we gave away 80.
Right.
So, but still, the others felt cared for.
Yeah. I did a end of the year pop buy. It was the first pop buy that
I
I've
like
done.
those. Okay.
Yeah. So I went to the dollar store and I bought wrapping paper, and the tape was 2 for $1, and little gift tags, and I put something else, and then the little bags. I put all the things in the little bag, and I tied the bag to the wrapping paper, and I made these little tags on Canva. Love Canva, and it said, "Thank you for helping me wrap up a great year."
Nice.
And something about your referrals are appreciated. My code was on there, and I drove to about 25 houses and dropped those off. Took a picture of it, sent them a text. Hey, I just left something at your door. I didn't ring the doorbell. I wasn't trying
Wow.
to surprise visit them and
Yeah.
have an awkward conversation. And I got the nicest messages from those.
I'm sure.
I mean, the people were so thankful. And
Yes.
it's a little thing. It cost me a couple bucks. I spent 2 half days. I mapped it all out and spent 2 half days driving around town, dropping them all off. But
Awesome.
there's some people who never acknowledge it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Those will be the same people in 5 years they'll randomly, pick up the
Right,
phone and
right.
call you, right?
Yeah.
Because they remember that.
Yeah.
But it was so fun. I was like, okay, we need to do that again. And my husband was like, how many of those are you doing? How much money? I'm like, just, it's going to pay off. I promise it's going to pay off. He's so black and white, X's and O's, and he just looks at this, and then is there a result right now? I'm like, honey, this isn't football. You're going to implement this, and you're going to see the change this week, and then you're going to make this change. But this is going to be like 3 seasons from now. This is what I'm going to get out of that.
Well, look at some of the players he's coached, right? When they were freshmen to when they were seniors, what was the difference in that 4 years?
Yeah.
Right? They kept running the play. There's small incremental changes, but it is the patience, right?
Yeah,
and I agree with that. It's those little gestures.
It's a long game, for sure. Yeah.
But having the plan in place is what's key, because you could look up in 5 years and go, why is there a sign in their yard? I did their house. And you're like, oh, wait, I haven't called them in a long time. I used to call them. I used to text them. I used to drop little things by. So it's the long game of patience. Yeah. I think patience also translates to consistency. Because if you're patient, you'll be consistent with all your efforts, because it's not about the now. It's the delayed gratification.
Yeah. That's like everything else. I mean, the consistency is what's going to pay off. The consistency of your routine every day, no matter what that is. If you're talking, health and fitness or work or whatever, and I'm getting myself back into routines on lots of things right now. But that consistency of, okay, I get up and this is what I do every morning. I mean, right now it's I get up and I let the dog out and feed the dog and I play with the dog for 20 minutes.
Otherwise, you got to chew everything up.
Exactly. And then he sleeps on the couch, and then I get my stuff done.
There you go. Smart.
It's a different routine. But I'm like, we raised all our kids. Now let's get a puppy. All the kids moved out. He's great, but it is a different, routine of, okay, now I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And keeping that consistency. And it's funny, I said to somebody this morning on the way here, she said, oh, do you use such and such to design they call them swipe and send emails and swipe and send texts. I said, I do have that membership. And I've literally just in the last 3 weeks gotten back into the consistency of doing it. They pre-design postcards for me every month that I just have to plug into Canva and put my information in there, print them and mail them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Swipe and send.
Yeah. Swipe and send emails already done that I just put into change some things and send it. I paid like $45 a month for it. It's well worth it. The price has gone up, and I said, I didn't cancel it because if I cancel and sign back on, I'm going to pay like $90 a month for it now. When I signed up, it was $45. So my message to myself is you need to be consistent with it. And if I'm not going to be consistent, then I need to cancel it because it's not worth it. But if I'm going to use it, then it's worth every penny, and it's done for me. I have 0 excuses.
Yeah. So a lot of people, and in your group too, they use leverage, right? They'll outsource different stuff, and I do the same exact thing. But let me just ask you a couple of things. What's some things that you would never give up? That are things you would always continue to do yourself? Right, like at some point you'll outsource the labels, right?
Right. I know.
Let's be clear, but I'm just using that's an easy example, right? But but what's 1 or 2 things that you're like, man, no matter what, I'm never outsourcing that.
It's funny. I use showing agents sometimes, but I really like to meet the clients on the first showing.
Okay.
Because I feel like my connection to them happens there. And could we have connected on the phone, and could we have, or a Zoom, or, we could have. But if any way possible, unless I have some other family issue going on, I'm going to meet them
So
at the
meeting
first
them face
appointment.
to face at the first appointment is
Right.
critical for you.
That's something I feel like I will always do. Now, future showings, and I've outsourced, and I've paid a lot of money to pay people to open doors for me, and then follow up with them afterwards for whatever reason. So I feel like that first meeting is probably something I will never give up. I have a transaction coordinator who handles most of my paperwork, and that is money well spent for every transaction. She's like gold.
I agree.
I use the same one that a lot of our other friends use, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll never take that back. I don't want to do that.
Yes.
For $250 a transaction, done.
Okay.
300, 400, done. Done. You need to raise your prices.
Listening, she can ask for a raise.
Right. No. And it's funny because I've paid 400 to some that were not good communicators and were not. And when she told me she only charged 250, I was like, no, I want you to do all of the paperwork. I want you to do everything. She goes, oh yeah, I can even write this. And she's a licensed agent, but she does this, what she does. So there's a few things. So that's one of the things that I leverage right now.
What's again something that you would never leverage?
I know.
I love the first appointment.
That first
cool.
appointment, I don't think I would ever leverage.
Some of those strategic follow-ups with the past clients, right? Like
the pop buys. I want to do more of those. And even though they don't really know if it's me or not, I know that it was me. And I ran into, people see you on the Ring camera,
right?
So they come out. So 2 people did come out,
cool,
and talk to me. Yeah, which was really nice. And one of them was a young family that I helped get into their first home, and so they were excited. She's like, "Come and see the backyard. We got the backyard." Yeah, so that was great. So I think I would never leverage, even though it takes time. I mean, it was 2 half days, and as that kind of grows, I didn't do all 40 of my past clients because 2 of them are my kids, so. You're stuck with me. And then I have several investment people who don't live in the house, right. So I'm not going to try. I mail them things, but I'm not going to try to catch them when they might be in town visiting their Airbnb.
Right.
As that grows, that'll be a little bit more challenging, and maybe I'll enlist my daughter to help me. But still, I think that's something that I would.
That personal touch.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm trying to hire my daughter as my assistant anyway.
Yes, family business.
Well, I want her. She's 23, right? She's the social media.
Perfect.
Yes. And I told her, I said, how about you follow me around for a day?
Yeah.
And help me shoot some B-roll video and do some things. And then, of course, she had a baby 3 weeks early, so we had to kind of postpone that.
Yeah, well, okay.
I mean, bring Addie with you.
Exactly. Well, that's the beauty of it, right?
Right.
She can. It's flex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you would be so great because she had her own business, and she did one TikTok video that got over 1 million views. And it was
of yours?
No,
hers.
So this was before I got into real estate. And literally all she did was take a map of the United States and color in the states where she had sent her products.
Wow.
1 million views.
People like watching that stuff.
I know. She's literally just coloring on the It's like, wow. Okay, Hannah.
It's just where what percentage of the million were actually going to be future customers? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I got a lot of lift.
Yeah.
It gets served up to a lot of people, and I got a lot of attention.
Yeah, and she did get, she ended up getting referrals from that and business from that because she had it linked to her Etsy shop and everything else. Yeah, and she actually she was doing it while she was in college. She started in the summer. She actually had to shut it down because she got so busy.
Wow.
That in college, she was on the dance team and she was on the beach volleyball team. She's like, I don't have time to breathe.
Can't manage my TikTok. Right? My Etsy TikTok.
My Etsy shop blew up. I'm like, it's your biggest problem? Okay.
Well, that's a good resume to hire for your business.
I'm trying.
Right?
I'm trying to. Yeah.
I mean, money flows to attention, right? Like you got to get people's attention. All right, cool. This was fun. This is perfect.
Very fun.
I appreciate you coming by, and I look forward to doing it again with you.
Yeah,
and I love
too.
the fact that you have a relationship-based, deeply ingrained with your database and sphere business.
That's what I'm really shooting for. I don't want to, it was weird when I first started and You work with someone for 3 months, 4 months. You can finally get them into a house, and you feel like so connected with them, and then you're
Yeah.
done.
Right.
It's a little sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
But for you, it's not.
yeah, and it's funny because my previous team, they did never do anything with helping us to train us how to stay front of
For the
mind
after.
for those people. Yeah. A few people on the team would be like, oh, you should do that. And that's when I heard about HomeBot. Oh, you should do HomeBot. I was like, what is that? Like, I don't know, I have so many things that I have to, Supra, this, that, MLS,
Yeah.
HomeBot. What are all these things? And being with this group that I'm with now, that's a very big focus on the relationship piece of it. There's some people in the group who just want to get the new leads, do the things, boom, move on. But a lot of them, it's building that repeat and referral business
Right.
and being relational, and
Yeah, there's transactional relationship. But
I'm all
your
about it.
prior career with the MLM of learning fortune is in the follow up is something for that beginning of the process.
Yeah.
But it's also tied into the close and after.
Right.
It's
exactly.
literally the at close to forever follow up plan. But it's just subtle. It's
Right.
pleasantly persistent, but it's that way it just never ends.
Yeah.
Because all those people are going to do something real estate related later.
Right.
The question is, will they do it with you and I?
Right.
And will they refer their friends and family along the way? And that
Right.
goes to the experience and the follow up and the communication during.
Yeah.
But that it existed afterwards. And as long as you have a simple plan that you're doing, like 2 events a year, simple plan, right? Your monthly mailing, simple
Yeah.
plan. I got my calendar, simple plan. Like it's just a simple plan that can be executed at a very high level.
Yep.
Love it.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.